I see what you did. Hello, we are Herman.
and Dee, and we're going to connect our microphones because we did not have that ready.
We
So,
this is our first live, so bear with us. We are of H&D abroad. We are mid-career professionals and aspiring expats. uh, we're using scouting trips and insightful friends that we're meeting, like you, to help us to find our final destination.
yeah, so research is something I enjoy doing. So, research is a huge part. Getting on the ground and figuring things out is definitely part of our plan. Let's just leave it for now.
Okay.
And just developing community and sharing what works, what doesn't work. That's what this channel is all about. So we'll just spend a little bit of time today talking through some things that are important when you're wanting to set goals and actually achieve them. So we're not just talking about this because I have read a book or I have watched someone's video about how to do a thing. Like, we've done the thing, we've done it a couple of different times with several different projects in our life, and we want to take that experience and put it to work to help this move abroad plan to be successful. So
And it continues to be an ongoing part of our process. These are the things that we continue to do since we are in transit, so to speak, with this process versus having settled. So,
yeah, so probably one of the things that I want to make sure that we do is to uh, welcome people who are joining us live. So thank you for joining us. And if you're joining us on the replay, thank you.
absolutely.
Say hello to us in the comments. We are definitely watching and responding to questions and comments. So thank you for joining us in that way. So what got us thinking about this, of course, is everybody is thinking about either New Year's resolutions or just how do we get focused and how do we live our best life.
Mhm.
And at the start of a new year, everyone's, feeling fresh, feeling new, like I've got a new start. So, but what we know about New Year's resolutions, which I usually don't make a resolution, but I decide the things that I'm going to do in the new year. Probably one of the things that has been personally beneficial is to do a thing before the new year even starts.
Mhm.
So if it's, you know, eating healthy, then I am starting some of those things at the end of a year to begin. But that doesn't mean I won't be successful if I'm just starting now, if I'm really kind of getting familiar with a new thing at the beginning of the year.
Right.
How do I set myself up for success? So I was watching a video on my walk this morning. I want to give a shout out to Jade Beeson. Thank you so much for inspiring me this morning. So she talked about 5 proven ways to change your life. So she was talking about, how successful her her YouTube business has been, and just some of the things that she put in place that helped her to not only identify the directions that she wanted to go into, but to have the mindset and then to know if she had accomplished her goals. So sometimes that can be a physical thing. Sometimes it just being healthier. And how do you know that you've achieved that goal if you haven't, um, if you haven't measured it, if you haven't identified it, if you haven't either set some kind of time So we're talking about the basic steps of a SMART goal. So she was really inspiring for me. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about mindset and motivation
Mhm.
to start. So, understanding your why. Woo!
and
Understanding your why. I
and
mean, like
and to make
like
that to, yeah.
when you're gonna dig in and do something that you've never done, that
Mhm.
your community, people around you
Mhm.
really aren't thinking about doing, like you've got to go into a really deep place in yourself to figure out, okay, so why is this important? And the deeper you go and the more you clarify that, not just at the beginning, but throughout your process, it'll help to sharpen your goals. You might even tweak or adjust your goals. Some things might fall off so that you're clarifying and putting your energy into things that really will make a difference for what's most important to you. But thinking about our debt-free journey, like when it got hard, when we were when we were working 70 plus hours a week,
Right.
you know,
Individually.
yes,
Individually.
70 plus hours individually. We were
Yeah.
leaving our kids, our adult kids, but we weren't doing the things that we had normally been doing because we were like, we want to pay majority, if not all of this debt off in a year.
Right.
We had to be really focused on why. And I figure, I mean, I don't know if you want to hear more about how we paid off a six-figure debt in 12 months.
Correct.
Put that in the comments because like it was hard, it was different, and it required physical energy.
Oh yeah, and a lot of emotional energy.
Yeah.
You talk about motivation. My like D, I don't do New Year's resolutions. What I've done for the last few years is I have a word of motivation for the year. It
Mm-hmm.
gives me a focus point. My word for last year was intention.
Yeah.
So I did things with intention. This year toggling through a few words, but one of my words is being open,
Mm.
being more open minded, being more open to new ideas and thoughts, as well as a new level of openness in the growth of our relationship. We've been doing this a long time, and
Yeah.
being able to open to new concepts of learning that you think that you know about your partner, and that has helped with this journey. Encourage you if you're online to give us a shout out in the comments. Let us know you're here, so we can acknowledge you and be excited that you're sitting here with us. Um,
So
but
I wanted to kind of start the video with, hey, what are some tools? What are some tools that we're using? So like these are like the nuts and bolts of like what we have used, what we are using that is going to help us to keep this our goals in front of us,
mhm.
to track our progress, to celebrate, to know we're close to celebrating. What could we do to like make things go faster? So one way that we have used is, y'all, we buy a wall calendar. We buy a wall calendar from one of the big box stores. It's got the big squares. It's a tear off for each month, and then we go on to the calendar and we put due dates, deadlines, things that have a calendar focus that we have to do. So we know we're going to have to go back to Mexico
Right.
to renew our residency, our temporary residency. So we have to do that by November. So the earliest we can do it is October. The latest we can do it is in November. So that has to go on the calendar so that it trips the other things that need to go into that process, like buying a plane ticket and getting our housing and things. which also means we need to be setting aside money. So it trickles into the different buckets. But having a calendar just keeps us, that's a natural, that's a
Right.
natural way of organizing that has
and
been successful.
and we purposefully got a wall calendar. We have a planner that we put all our notes and thoughts in, but the
And we
wall,
love our Google calendar that
and
we
we use
use
our
for
Google.
the
Correct.
family. Because
Correct.
look, at this age,
Correct.
baby, if it isn't written down,
I need as many reminders as possible.
exactly.
Yeah, that's what it really is. I need the reminders. But yeah, the wall calendar is visual. Every time I walk into this space, it's there. Same thing with our wall post-it notes.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to show you. Okay. So y'all know the post-it notes are great, but like we have
Hold on,
actual large
hold on. Let's put one to our
post-it
left.
notes.
Here's one over my shoulder.
Okay, yeah, that's our YouTube content planning
And
calendar.
they are
like,
all over the kitchen.
So I mean, like we use these really big post-it calendars to write different goals on, and then the things that we need to accomplish. So sometimes we start with, just brainstorming. What are all the buckets?
Mm-hmm.
What are all the things we could do this year around moving abroad? And then once we get those things, could they be combined or grouped into something? And then we make a post-it, put it on the wall. So we've got one on the wall for money.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about the financial planning, but there's a wall on here about, I'm going to use Rashida Dow of Sheeta's on the Loose Word. We've got, what does our savings and our 401k look like for an opulent?
Mm-hmm.
That's her word. That was why I joined her channel. What does an opulent lifestyle look like for us? And then, what's the bare minimum? Like, if we were to get on the ground and go, what would I feel comfortable with? What would my partner feel comfortable with money wise to be able to just get out there and do the thing? So post-it notes, I also created my vision board using my post-it notes. So I took all of the, I don't particularly like the ones you can do in Canva online. There's a disconnect. I like being able to go up and touch the thing. So self-care, which I did a video on, is on this vision board. Swimming and meditation and massage and cooking and silence and listening are all pictured on that board, and I'm able to integrate that visually into my day and not lose track. I think that's what these things. The other thing that we use with our wall calendars and our failure is colored markers. So y'all are just kicking it old school. We I like colors. I like it makes it visually interesting. It draws your eye, and
it helps me differentiate between the different areas we need to focus on. It helps me know what my responsibilities are.
So literally when we were doing our debt free, we put the total amount of that particular debt in red. And then every pay period, every time we earned some extra money from catering or extra money from, maybe not catering, all of the other things, side hustles that we were doing, we just wrote it down, subtract. Y'all, you cannot underestimate the power of seeing that number go from a 5-digit number to a 4-digit number to a 3-digit number, and saying, look, you're able to see what are the levers in my life that I can shift to make this number go to 0 and then jump to the next one. So using the color markers is is visual. It's also helping to draw my eye to, where are we starting, and how close are we getting to that goal, and even to match it between the Post-it note and our calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So, April 15th is coming. You're going to have that tax money. You're going to have to have calculated your receipts. Y'all, don't wait. Don't wait till the last minute. Even if you are like, I know I can't make the full payment, just go ahead and shoot for a target. So the calendars, the Post-it notes are super important. The other tools we're using, we
Communicate
meet regularly.
Yeah.
It's on the planning calendar.
Yeah, we spend some time every day talking about what our plans are in some form or fashion. So, how do we? What are our financial plans for this month, this week, this quarter? What are our plans for doing our YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
When we did this has been. This is a challenge for us. I'm staring into a camera, hoping that you're there. I mean, I know there are people who do this normally who feel comfortable with this. I am an in-person engager, so this is a different experience for me. So planning for this, talking about this, so that when we sit down, we have an idea of where we're going. Talking about what are some places we might consider living, and what are the interests for moving to those places, being open to the fact that those might not be the same places between us, and then how do we look through that, compromise that, all those things that we'll break out some more in those sections as we come to them. These are just the things that we kind of put together so that we could come up with this list.
So meeting regularly for daily goals, like, did you put your Walmart trip in the every dollar app? Or we need to schedule the meeting with our facilitator to start the process for visas, or looking at the weather. Y'all, I mean, like, I know that weather is important to me, so I put on my weather app some of the places I'm interested in moving in, so that I can see, okay, most of the time in this time frame, this is what the weather looks like. I could go out to some places to gather that data, but that just keeps me on the pulse of thinking about my goal, our goal of moving abroad in a very practical, everyday sense. And then we are in those Facebook groups, y'all. We are developing community. We needed to know we weren't the only people that are mid-career professionals who are wanting to reduce our expenses. We want to contribute to a culture just like we do here in the U.S. And we have adult children, and so we're able to find people who are on a similar journey, going to a particular place and seeing videos of what life looks like. And so being in those communities ahead of even making a decision kind of gives us a temperature of who's there, how are they meeting, how are they helping each other out. People are sharing, look, I got dental work and this is where I found to get that, or I had an annual physical and this physician did this, it cost that. So I know some of the on the ground things without having to be there. So, and then following people on Instagram, and seeing what their actual life looks like. People are sharing, and I want to learn. We want to learn what that looks like. So we're not green. And the laws, y'all, the
Especially,
laws are changing.
especially as we're looking at this from someone from a couple who is still working towards our new home. Um, so a lot of that information helps us make plans so that when we get a chance to travel and visit, we know we have an idea of some of the things we're looking for when we get there. We have some things that we can explore because some people have given us that information.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So one of as we kind of transition to, setting goals and making sure that we're reaching them, we're just going to talk through some of the things that we're doing, some of the areas, some of the buckets. So these are the buckets. These are things that are going on the master post-it note, and then things that some of the areas we're going to be working on. Not This is meant to be really a high level conversation and not really to go into detail. Maybe if there's an area that we touch on that you'd like us to go a little bit deeper on, just put that in the comments if you're watching the replay or now. So one area that we know that's important to us is we're not done working. We still have 401k and investment things that we want to be able to do for the next few years. So I'm not necessarily feeling ready to be fully self-employed. So I know I'm going to have to make a transition. I really like my company. I love the benefits that my company has. And so from a career perspective, how can I line that up with moving abroad? I'm looking for opportunities. So it's great that I work in human resources, so I can look at the benefit landscape. What does that look like domestically? Because it does change for my colleagues that don't live in the U.S. How do I get those opportunities? Am I asking my company to, fund my or work out the work visa part? What if I came to them and said, look, I'm already a resident of a place and we have offices there? Does that make it an easier transition? So, career wise, I also think we have a lot of friends that are pivoting. So I'm looking at making a pivot into tech. And so could I be getting some experience in my current career that will line up with what I would hope to be able to do, or opportunities that really are work from anywhere in the world? So that when I'm looking at career, I'm looking at what trainings would I need to have. I am not tech, so I'm doing a lot of software training. And so doing those things are incremental, and it really makes it easier to put that on a post-it note and know, did I start the training? Did I finish each of the classes that will get me to the certificate? When do I want to have the certificates? When do I want to flow into? When do I want to flow in some of these skill building activities into my current work? So that's what the career layout looks like for me, but I know it is different for my husband that's in a completely different industry.
Right. And I might be in that group of people who are floating towards the self-employed, the entrepreneurial state of it. As a culinarian, you can always show up somewhere and work in somebody's restaurant or whatever. I'm actually evaluating what looks more like online opportunities as well. Teaching culinary classes online, things like meal planning, things like vegan learning. There's a lot of more people getting into vegan learning. Even some independent projects maybe here on YouTube. But I also have other things that I'm looking at. I've done teaching online for English, so picking up things like that. That is great remote work, is teaching online. Utilizing my behavioral science and HR backgrounds to look for work that allows me a little cross learning, I guess you might call it, as well as cross work. So where Dee is still in an industry she's working from and building from, I'm a little more outside an industry trying to compress some things together. I know there's a lot of people who say my work isn't transferable. It doesn't transfer online. It doesn't transfer out of the country. That's kind of some of where my experience is right now. How do I make what I do work for me wherever I am? And that requires a good amount of research, because it can be a little overwhelming, hard to deal with, to say, okay, I'm not going to be able to work, and I still have to work. And so what a lot of people tend to do is, well, I can't leave. I can't make these decisions because I don't have a job. I won't have a job. I counseled a young man. I advised a young man recently. I was like, everything is transferable. Everything is remote accessible. Anything. If you search YouTube, you pick a career. It's on YouTube. Somebody's talking about it. They can tell you some way to make that work. You have to find a way to make that work that's comfortable for you, that you feel you can advance on. This is also a great time to expand in the areas you may have wanted to do before that you hadn't thought about. You've been saying, I've been stuck in this career. This is a great time to test out new work opportunities. Again, we're talking about a period where you haven't left yet. So we're talking about building practices before you move abroad. Okay, so how do I challenge myself in new work areas now?
The reason why we're starting with career and then we're going to roll into finance is the number of stories that kind of make me a little nervous, but people do it of all ages. I used to think only young people are moving, saying, I'm getting on a plane and I'm moving to a country I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything, and I've got no money. I'm gonna find a job and that's happening to people. Are choosing that. That's not, I want to go to a place, be secure in a place. And that's why planning and goal setting, because I don't want to have to come back to the US unless we decide that's what's best for us or our circumstances. So
we want to go when we feel more, not fully, but more secure in, hey, we can make this transition and not have to turn around and
come right back.
Or
get stuck and then be trying to GoFundMe, trying to get back to the States. Okay.
No.
Okay. No.
No.
That's not my ministry. That's not my story.
I'm not going out there to then have to turn around and ask for somebody to help. My purpose is to be self-sufficient, to be more independent, to be more accessible to the world. So I'm going to stop a minute. I'm going to say hi to Betty Banks Coleman. Hey, Betty. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Darling. Thank you.
Anybody else you're on, please drop your name in the comments. Let us know you're here.
So the finances, we are doing these things. We want to get back to basics and then see how we can ramp them up. So there's a certain amount that we want to have in savings. Next week we're going to be talking to the creators of Our Black Utopia, Rick and Halisi, because we took their financial challenge. Y'all, lining yourself up, not just to live a good life now, but to say, in retirement, I want joy. So how do I take those small steps today that are going to take me where I want to go? I don't want to just be looking at my feet and end up somewhere, I want to be looking down and make sure, look, if I don't have to stumble, I don't have to. If I can walk around some craters, I can do that. The things that have made a difference for us that we're leaning into is automation.
Mm-hmm.
Look, if you don't see it in your check, you don't spend it, you don't even calculate it. So
Mm-hmm.
having a certain amount that goes right into their the into our retirement funds. It
Mm-hmm.
goes right into our investment accounts. Look, it's a set it and forget, not a set it and forget it, but set it. Because we know that time is the best. Um, Time and automation are two things that could make a huge difference, that have made a huge difference in growing our money. And look, I knew I didn't want to leave the US with debt. And so that had to happen before we could even start dreaming
Mm-hmm.
about moving abroad.
And which leads us right into what we finances and debt. That's number two. Um, um, want to talk about it? Give it a shout
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. So the creator of the art, there we go, that's behind us, Miss Felina Wright. Thank you so much for joining us today. She's in the comments. She has done a couple of pieces for me for my heart work, which is really, as much as I want to do career work, I really want to do birth work full time when we move abroad. But y'all, you got to have a path. And Belina has really taken her art to the next level and is another inspiration. Surrounding yourself with good people. We'll talk about that as part of how to build a successful plan. But seeing people live their passion and seed into that, and then supporting that is definitely what's making our process successful. So thank you for Belina for joining us today. So,
Our financial goals, looking at our financial debt, when we got to the top of 2022,
mhm.
we recognized that there was a lot of work. Well, actually, it was 2021,
Yeah.
2021, because remember, we're pushing along here in these years. At the top of 2021, we began to knock out some little goals here, some little tasks there. So we had been kind of knocking some things along in 2020. In 2021, we really said, I'd really like for these things
Be gone.
to be gone. And you know, Dee wrote out a whole, like she said, she wrote out a whole calendar list. And we were like, how do we take our money? How do we sacrifice in various ways so that we can take these debts out? Now, a little transparency, no credit card. We had the honor of doing classes that encouraged us to take out credit card debt 15, 16 years ago. So we were talking about personal debts that we were trying to now say, hey, these have been sitting over here and building. Now we need to take them away because we don't need that
As a
monster sitting
burden,
there, that
as a
burden.
burden, yeah.
And so we dug in, and between the two of us, we had close to 8 different financial sources we were pulling in. We were really digging in 2021.
And 2022, by 2022, we were both like accomplishing the debt, paying it off was part, but the other piece of this is knowing I've reached a goal. I don't have to do those things anymore. And so for my process, having lots of side hustles no longer served a purpose. I could continue to earn at that level, but y'all, I was tired. I was tired, and I knew that getting the goal was hitting the goal was what was going to help me to know it was time to start rolling those things off. And so because we were able to pay off the debt, I was able to take a leave of absence from work. and then reset. So when we reset, we build back up our savings, we build back up, you know, and then, you know, life happened. Where we were living, we needed to move. So a goal we weren't anticipating. And we had to look at when we were, so we're talking about paying off debt and saving, but also spending.
Mm-hmm.
So now we had to look at, okay, if we are moving abroad, does buying a house fit into that goal? And so we had to look at, okay, so what do we do? Do we need to, what levers do we want to maneuver to that will keep us in alignment? And so I was hoping to have this nice stack of funds, but we bought a house.
That's where I was going. Because buying the house then affected what our savings looked like.
Yeah.
But because we looked at the house purchase as an investment, not just as a current investment, but as a future legacy investment.
Mm-hmm. That could possibly fund our living abroad.
Or provide funding for our young adult children in some form or fashion. So there's a legacy process in that. So there was sacrifices in that savings process, which means now we refocus and we reestablish or are reestablishing that savings amount. We didn't burn it up because we felt that would be irresponsible.
No.
But
look,
it put pressure on it.
I don't like seeing my account like that. I like seeing good numbers because as a woman, mm-hmm. that helps me to feel safe. Mm-hmm. That helps me to feel like there's a buffer between life when life is lifing, mm-hmm. and security. And I do not underestimate the emotional effect that any of this process could have on any other piece. And so even though we are making some decisions, we start with where do we want to be and how does it line up to that? Mm-hmm. The mental health is another area that we have. It's a bucket. It is a goal of what does this 50-year-old body and mind need to have to feel that my life has quality, that I am living in balance? What do I need to release? And one of the things I just mentioned about taking the sabbatical, I prioritized my mental health as I am working through grief. Losing my father has been earth moving. Mm-hmm. And how do I deal with grief? How do I work through other parts of my life that I feel that I've been stuck? Because some people wait until, I'm in a different place, I'm in a different setting, I have more time to work on these things. What I realized is I want to take my best self abroad, and I don't want to wait. So whether that is, like I said, working through grief, working through childhood issues, trauma, whatever you want to describe it as, working through those issues that allow me to really refresh and sweep the cobwebs and close some doors on some people, some processes, and some history that aren't serving me. Mental health work, y'all, get into it.
I'm gonna drop this in here. You'll notice, I think, across the course of these buckets, as Danica calls them, in these various areas, that you'll recognize, I hope, or will convey that, especially as a couple, communication is a piece of each of these. Mm-hmm. There has to be we've decided that communication has to be a part of each of those things. So with mental health, our current mental health and our potential future mental health. What if one or the other of us does not function in a way that they can function independently? Alzheimer's runs in my family. If and dementia, if I were to acquire dementia or have dementia as a part of my elderly life, or unfortunately nowadays early set, early onset dementia. Have I spent the time with Dee to say, here is what my desires are.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how we're going to take care of ourselves. Here's how we're going to plan for the future. There is a measure, I believe, of independent work that has to happen if you're going to decide to move anywhere that's different from where you've been comfortable. If you're moving from one city to the other, one state to the next, one country to the next, where are you in yourself? There are too many families moving abroad, motivated by one person, and everybody else wasn't motivated, and it's causing dissension in their homes. We've had a discussion about why are we doing it, where are we doing it. I mean, we've had some tough discussions because questions come about what reasons are, what perceptions are about that. You want to make sure that you've had this talk. You don't want to be in another country. We talked about it, we laughed about this last night. You don't want to be in another country where you haven't mastered the language, and the only person you can talk to, you haven't spent the last however many years really talking to, and now you have to talk to each other.
There's some angry people living abroad, y'all. There are some the people moving abroad to get divorced.
Yeah.
And I don't see that. I don't want that as part of our future.
Correct.
And so whether that is couples counseling, whether that is family counseling, with children who you live with, or children, adult children, resolving those issues before you beginning to identify those issues to work on, and beginning that process now, I think is valuable to us and is a goal. Identifying what in your network of opportunity, whether I'm looking for private pay, sliding scale, can I use the EAP at my job that provides confidential counseling? If I'm getting that counseling, my manager doesn't know unless I tell them, because they are a protected entity. You get for a lot of employers, you get a certain amount per issue per year. So you can literally talk to a counselor about 5 different issues over the course of a year with a certain number of sessions for each one. Use what's available to you. There are a lot of community resources. If you don't know where they are, in the US, the United Way, I think, is one way to be able to identify. BetterHelp is another private pay online resource. People are finding qualified counselors, because sometimes your best friend does not need to know about what's happening between you and your spouse. And so having someone that is a licensed marriage and family therapist, if you have a learning disorder, attention deficit disorder, ADHD, anxiety, depression, I'm not going to get free of those things because I moved to a different place. I'm going to take my habits. I'm going to take my disability, my skill set with me. And so why not start that process now?
I want to say something to 2 specific groups of people, to people of color and to men. Counseling is beneficial. And I'm saying that from a personal level. That's not a suggestion. That's not because of my past profession. That's saying it to you as someone who is continuing to learn and grow. Counseling, therapy, whatever choice of words you want to use, you're talking about the opportunity to learn more about yourself so that your interaction with the people you care the most about, your spouse, your partner, your parents, your children, your employer, your employees, your co-workers, the person you pass by on the street, you can't figure out why they pissed you off when they bumped into you. If you learning more about yourself, using whatever avenues you have to learn about yourself, your learning style, your reaction style, traumas that you don't know you had. Understand that word does not necessarily mean you were beat up. Trauma could mean something as simple as things that weren't conveyed to you in a way that allowed you to feel free to learn, free to grow. Those things are beneficial. So that's my commercial for today.
On mental health, because there's stigma, and we recognize there's
Correct.
stigma, but y'all, begin to create the space and time, make it a priority. Is why we have made it a bucket for it is an actual goal. It is as important as finding the place that we're going. Probably the other, just like right alongside mental well-being is physical well-being. And I'm going to tell you why physical well-being is important to me. I want to be in a place where I don't have to figure out if my medication can be filled in my new country. Or have to find or afford, if I have to find a specialist. If I can change how I'm eating and use prevention as my thing, like that's the route that I would like to go on. Exercising regularly. So we're going on these scouting trips, y'all. When we went to Mexico, we did a lot of walking. And I am a walker. I had not walked my best life in the United States. So I was feeling that when we were walking those sidewalks in Mexico City, we loved it. You could walk 6 miles in a day because I was like, oh, I want to see this and I want to stop and see that. We could take an Uber, but I found a fabric store in Puerto Vallarta because we were walking. I found the yarn store with yarn classes because we were walking. So I want to be in my best physical health because I want to be able to do the thing. Y'all, if I hadn't been in good health, those sidewalks in Mexico City would have really harmed me.
They still harmed me. So another moment of transparency. That's my goal for the day is transparency in this conversation. I enjoy walking with my wife. And it's not that I don't like to walk. It's not a natural response for me. My natural response is to go where I need to go, to be where I need to be. And the quickest point between the quickest distance, what is it? The quickest way between 2 points is a straight line. So if I need to get in the car and drive, now, having said that, there's no way in God's heaven I'm ever driving in Mexico.
Never. We will have a driver's license.
What they do on the streets.
But we will not drive.
I would never drive in Mexico. So
he rode in the front seat because, I couldn't do it.
And at some point in time, I will post the videos of that, whatever that is.
That adventure.
But I enjoy the walking because I enjoy finding new things. And the area we were in allowed us to explore. So it didn't matter if we walked 10 miles because I knew there was new all along the way. A part of my request, if we're going to be walkable, is that we're in places where I don't have to walk 10 miles before I get somewhere.
True.
Because then I'm getting in the car.
Yes.
Then I'm taking Uber. But walking, I felt different at the end of that time because I was doing something that I hadn't had the chance to do. Culinary work has me standing in the space. Now I might walk 1900 steps in a kitchen, but we're talking about purposeful moving. I'm a Florida boy. I like fresh air. I like sunshine. So being outside, it was important to me. I enjoyed that time, and that's what was big for me. Uh, but I saw things. I got 3, 4 new chef shirts because we walked past a great uniform shop. I mean, beautiful uniform. I'm not wearing one just in one of our lives just because. But I mean, again, that experience, that ability to explore and to feel good, it made our eating choices more intentional.
Yeah.
There was fast food. We didn't do any. We
Yeah.
and the what do you want to call it? The more things that might fall into a junk food line, the burritos, the whatever that we got were so high on the healthy list that it was just like we can gorge this and have a great time. So that physical, and I watch people's pages, and you can see their weight changing. We've been here 2 months, we've been here 4 months, we've been here 6 months, and you can see their weight changes, and they're not eating different. They're just in a different living space. And I probably ate more food each day that we were there than I eat here. But I didn't end the meal feeling full or bloated or weighed down, or I needed to sit 30 minutes before we can go anywhere. We ate, we got up, we kept moving. I long for that.
Yeah.
I long for that. And considering the health challenges that we have had over the recent years, and that's something that we'll sit down one day and actually be a forthcoming with about. We've had some in these middle to late 40s, we've had some unexpected health challenges and occurrences that's not a life I want to continue.
Right.
This is our 50th year of life. And I
I'm
want
gonna
to
look
be
good. I'm gonna look good. I'm gonna look good. I'm gonna look good
good.
this year.
But I want to be my best self. I want to be I want to be at 70 20 years from now. I want to feel at least as healthy as I do today, which means I need to be healthier today. And I want to do that before I walk into anybody else's country, because the choices I make about our lives today. So when I stand here and I make a meal in this kitchen for my beloved, it is important to me that that meal be fulfilling to her and that she has options for when I'm not here with her the rest of the day. And when I'm out running the streets doing my business, that I know I took with me something that's wise or better prepared. So, I mean, I can probably name on one hand, the number of fast food places I still pass by. And in a month, it might not be this many times. So, and that's just because I want to live while we are living. I don't want to be 70 and we just retired, or 65, 62 and we just retired. I like being almost 50 and we're about to stop mainstream life. It's not that we won't be busy. Trust me, we were up later than we needed to last night preparing for this. But that joy in knowing that we are energetic to doing what we need to do.
Yeah. So probably the last bucket as we are tying up this live is really a combination of. It's going to be difficult to let go of the things that from the life we have built here in the US. And, a lot of these goals are focused on, where we're going, but we have to take care of the things that we have here. So whether that is, I'm calling it decluttering, it's probably going to be letting some things go. A lot of things go that
Have sentimental value.
They have sentimental value. What do we do? Things like, what do I do with the pictures?
Mm-hmm.
We're
readers.
The kids' art from when they were 3. Like, I mean, I was that mommy that was like, I'm gonna keep this forever. And we have 3 kids, so we've got a lot of forever things. Things like furniture, being able to prioritize and say, what are the pieces we actually need? And as we have done that, y'all, the release, the relief, not just the release, the relief of, it's going to take me less time to clean this area because there are fewer things in this area.
And it's also been far less challenging to downsize than I think we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Our young adults will still be here. And some of those things we've been able to legacy gift to them. So we don't lose them. They go to a legacy space. Just like our parents have passed some things to us that we can now begin to pass to them. But it's also given us a way to think about some of the things we hadn't thought about. We were like, oh God, how are we going to put the
You start with decluttering, you kind of start with, okay, these are the easy things. I mean, clothes. I thought that was going to be hard. COVID, look.
And I'm male, I don't have clothes.
I was like, once I wasn't going to church as often and I wasn't going to the office, I was like, why do I have 50 high heel shoes? Like, I can get to my core set of things. Now I've got one rack and maybe a few things on the floor. Don't say anything.
Okay. Yes, dear.
But I have pared down.
No, absolutely.
I have pared down substantially. I have one tub of winter clothing and shoes, and I have the things that are up on the rack and
to be honest, most of the things she has because I've made her keep them.
Because I was like, I don't need, and I was like, I'm really glad I kept that.
Yeah, I've made
so, and then I'm growing my wardrobe intentionally where it needs to. So, some of the things are easier on the easy end, and we're taking care of that now, and then really being decisive on what we keep. What is the purpose? Can we choose one thing that serves a dual purpose? Y'all, I'm gonna have to let my plants go. And I'm gonna talk about that on one of my Tuesday talks, because I've got a girlfriend, Tracy, who is also a plant mom, who is getting ready to have to let her plant babies go. And so, kind of talking with and getting support from people. I have a plant that I got in memory of my father. Like, you want me to let that go? Like, we're going to have a whole plan around that, and not waiting till the last minute and making emotional decisions. I think is why it is its own bucket. So what to leave behind and what to keep.
And I think, to be fair, some of those decisions are a couple decision, and I think some of those decisions are an independent decision.
Yeah.
I'm not contributing to that decision for her. That is personal to you, and I think that is important that you make those. She says, "I'm taking all 8 plants," then I'm finding a way to take 8 plants because it's important to her. Because there are places in that, but when we sit down and decide this table that our laptop is sitting on, we decide together, how we go in and how much does it cost. We both decided the table is going. We may argue about how much it's going to cost, but we decide that together. But my baby book is my decision to make. My mother made that book. So that decision, what do I do with that? How do I protect that? Where do I store that? Or how do I carry that with me? And then I be responsible for it. That's an independent decision. And we've had that discussion. We've sussed that out. We continue to flush through that conversation, because it bleeds not just into these things, but we got 3 young adults that we are going to potentially be a little further away from than they expected. The hope is that we can also encourage them to be
On
out
their
and
way
about,
out. Mm-hmm.
even if it's, I try to remind them, if you moved to California and I lived on the East Coast, you're a day and a half away of busyness. If you're living in the South and I moved to Mexico, I'm still 5 hours away. The flight isn't any more or any less.
Right.
But so trying to get them in a place for that. At some point in the future, we'll talk about, I think, our parents.
Yeah.
If we're 50, then you get a clear idea of how old our parents are and their states of health and well-being and our
Impact.
responsibilities to them. We are firstborns, both of us. And we're not talking about our siblings are not engaged, but just how we've decided our responsibilities are going to be towards the state of health and well-being and the future of our parents. That is a part of this planning process. That's a part of this engagement process. We're not deciding to move lightly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this bulk of this conversation was today, is we're not deciding to move lightly. We are taking into account so many things that can affect not just us.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing if you say, we don't have any kids, our parents are all gone, we decide what we do, we pack up, we go. Our kids are 40, but our kids are
in transition years,
just getting their independent training wheels on, and we always ran home.
Yeah, we could run home.
We could run home. That might not be a ready reality for them. And we have to take that into account. That's not something they have to take into account. We have to take into account because these are our choices. Mm-hmm. I have a great grandmother who I'll be further away from. I mean, I have a grandmother who I'll be further away from. Those are things that we take into account with with our decision. And we're hoping that the benefits we gain from our moving abroad will actually allow us more access than we actually have where
right
we
now.
are.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, B.
Yes.
It is a family affair.
Absolutely.
We are excited.
I'm so excited. I mean, well, if y'all don't know, or y'all will know, I am a planner. I writing it down, from a spiritual perspective, we know, writing the vision, making it plain, spending time thinking and setting intentions toward a thing, allows it to sit deep within our spirit. And I spend time thinking about what will it look like? What will I look like walking to the market to buy my fresh fruits and vegetables? Yeah. What does my backyard, table where we've invited our local friends and family over for dinner, what does that look like? What I can see myself working at a co-working center part of the day so that I can take my boxing classes in the afternoon, because there's a time for work and a time for rest and a time for play and a time for social that now I have control over. And so I can begin to have more control over my daily schedule by writing this stuff down, making a plan, enacting those things in our current life so that they become a part of the muscle memory. Correct. That we are already Correct. Used to when Correct. I want to take good habits with me. So I've got to have them now. I got to undo some of this negative thinking that I have around productivity, y'all, around the difference between rest and laziness. So undoing those things, releasing myself from those things is going to give me the opportunity to live my best life now and to give my best life to my partner, and then to give such good positive energy. Like that kind of energy into a process is going to drive you toward your goal. So I'm thankful for being able to share all of these little tidbits and to encourage you all to think, even if it's not moving abroad, what do you want for yourself? And what are the steps that will take you toward it? That we are not doing this because we're not afraid.
Oh, yeah.
We are doing it scared. There's a whole community of us. If you need to get connected to community, I know Exodus Summit has been a community that there are married women, partnered women, single women, women that are in their 70s and 80s, women that are in their teens and 20s that are saying, I didn't even know any of this was possible. And I'm going to do the thing. And we are celebrating people doing the thing. And we're not doing it because we're well off, or that we're in abundance. We're doing it with what we've got, and we're growing, and we're pressing, and we're challenging ourselves to do a new thing. So,
and I need more Black men who aren't yet retiring and who are older than 30 to be open to seeing the world outside your neighborhood, outside your town. The world is not afraid of us. We will always be Black men wherever we are, but the world is not as abrasive to us as we think we are because of our experiences here in the States. And it's time for us to get up and see opportunities wherever they are. And that's my encouragement in this. Nick was talking about her things. I'm looking to digging my hand in the dirt and putting my own garden and taking my stuff to my kitchen and cooking it myself. I'm looking forward to. Hell, hey, I'm looking forward to being fine one day too.
Yes, dear.
Yes, so
yes.
It is important that we grow. We are encouraged that you spent this time with us here today.
Yes.
Thank you so much, each and every one of you. If you watch this video later, add some points in the comments. Give us some suggestions on how we can grow. We'll be going live every Saturday at 1 o'clock
Central Time.
Next week, we talk with
Rick and Halisi
of Our Black Utopia. We're interviewing them. Please come back and see us. We'll be throwing videos up along the way.
Getting your money together before you move abroad. Like,
that's our conversation for next week.
Absolutely.
Any suggestions that you might have, please, for videos you'd like to see us do, or things you'd like to see us research so that we can learn, or any suggestions that you have if you've had the opportunity to live abroad or are looking to move abroad, please give us any suggestions, comments. Hit us in the comment box as we grow our brand through this journey, because this is more about a journey for us than anything. We will be looking for suggestions. Do not forget to like this video. Do not forget, please, to subscribe to this video. Subscribe to our channel. Recommend our channel to others, and hit the notification bell so that you can know when we're on again.
Absolutely. And I go live every other Tuesday, just talking about my individual journey as a woman, as a Black woman, because I think that information needs to be in this space so that we can see ourselves as women who are in our mid part of our lives, the early part of our early middle part of our lives, because we are doing this.
Absolutely.
We're doing it for a variety of reasons, but now is the time to live our best life. So Thank you all. Have a great rest of your Saturday. We're going to put 2 cards for videos that we've done before. Our why for why we are considering moving abroad, and our conversation about could this be our last Christmas? Like the mindset of releasing what we know to embrace what we don't. Have a good day, everyone.
See you soon.